On the morning of March 31st, 2026, tens of thousands of Oracle employees across the United States, India, Canada, Mexico, and Uruguay opened an email from someone identified as Oracle leadership. There was no prior notice from a manager, no communication from human resources, and no advance warning of any kind. The email informed each recipient that their role had been eliminated as part of a broader organizational change, and that the day they received the message was their last working day. By the time most of them tried to log into their work systems, access had already been revoked. Some of those employees had worked at Oracle for 10 years, others for 20. At least one had been with the company for 30 years. The scale of the cuts is significant by any measure. Oracle had approximately 162,000 employees as of May 2025. Investment bank TD Cowen estimated that between 20,000 and 30,000 positions were eliminated, roughly 18% of the company's global workforce. Oracle has not released an official statement confirming the total number of affected employees, but the estimate is consistent with WARN Act filings, employee accounts on social media platforms, including Reddit and the professional forum Blind, and reporting from Bloomberg, CNBC, and Business Insider. Analysts are describing the event as the largest layoff in Oracle's 49-year history. For context, Amazon's January 2026 elimination of 16,000 corporate roles was considered one of the more significant workforce reductions of the year. Oracle's cuts appear to be nearly double that figure, carried out in a single morning. This matters beyond the technology sector because the mechanism driving these cuts is spreading across industries, and the workers most affected are not entry-level employees. They are experienced, credentialed professionals in mid to senior career stages. To understand why Oracle did this, it is necessary to look at the company's financial position, because this is not a case of a struggling business reducing headcount to stay solvent. Oracle's most recent quarterly earnings, reported on March 10, 2026, showed revenue of $17.2 billion, a 22% increase from the same quarter the prior year. Its cloud infrastructure segment grew 84% year over year. Net income rose 27%. By standard financial measures, Oracle was performing well. The issue is what the company has committed to spending. In September 2025, Oracle signed a $300 billion five-year agreement with OpenAI as part of an AI infrastructure initiative called Project Stargate. Under that agreement, Oracle is responsible for building 4.5 gigawatts of AI data center capacity across the United States, a power requirement roughly equivalent to the electricity consumed by 4 million homes. Construction is already underway at sites in Texas, Michigan, Wisconsin, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania. To fund this build-out, Oracle took on approximately $58 billion in new debt over the course of 2 months. Its total long-term and short-term debt stood at $124.4 billion as of late 2025, while its cash on hand was $19.8 billion. Capital expenditure surged from roughly $8 billion in fiscal year 2024 to over $30 billion in fiscal year 2026. The company's free cash flow turned deeply negative last quarter. In a March 2026 SEC filing, Oracle disclosed a $2.1 billion restructuring plan, with the majority of costs attributed to employee severance and related expenses. Of that $2.1 billion, approximately $982 million had already been recorded through the third quarter of fiscal year 2026, leaving more than $1 billion in restructuring costs still budgeted. TD Cowen analysts had written in a January 2026 note that cutting 20,000 to 30,000 positions could free up between $8 billion and $10 billion in annual cash flow. That projected savings is directed specifically toward funding the AI infrastructure build-out, not toward improving operations, expanding services, or absorbing a revenue shortfall. The employees were not cut because the business was contracting. They were cut because their compensation represented capital the company needed elsewhere. Oracle's co-CEO Mike Sicilia stated the reasoning plainly. The use of AI coding tools inside Oracle is enabling smaller engineering teams to deliver more complete solutions more quickly. That statement, offered by the company's own leadership, describes a direct substitution. Fewer human employees producing equivalent or greater output through AI-assisted work. The workers affected were not those in junior or administrative positions. A LinkedIn post from a surviving Oracle employee, cited by the HR Digest, confirmed that the cuts reached senior engineers, architects, operations leaders, program managers, and technical specialists. Washington State WARN Act filings listed 491 affected employees at qualifying locations, 270 of whom were software developers. At a single Oracle campus in Kansas City, 539 employees are scheduled to be let go between late May and early June 2026. For affected employees, the severance terms are defined and limited. U.S. workers received 4 weeks of base salary plus 1 additional week per year of service, capped at a maximum of 26 weeks. Any unvested restricted stock units were forfeited immediately. The severance is taxed as supplemental income at 30%. For a 30-year employee, the maximum payout is 6 months of base salary, after which they enter a job market in which, as of early April 2026, more than 70 technology companies had already eliminated over 40,000 positions. There is also a legal question surrounding how Oracle conducted these cuts. The Federal WARN Act requires employers to provide 60 days advance notice before mass layoffs at qualifying sites, generally defined as those affecting 100 or more employees at a single location. Oracle's affected employees received no advance notice. Oracle may argue that remote workers do not constitute employees at a single qualifying site under the statute, a legal position that has been contested inconsistently across federal courts. However, WARN Act filings do confirm that separations are expected to continue through June 1, 2026. Employment attorneys advising affected workers note that if Oracle failed to provide required notice where it was legally mandated, workers may be owed up to 60 additional days of back pay beyond their severance packages. Oracle is not acting in isolation. The pattern of AI-attributed workforce reductions is documented across multiple major employers in the first quarter of 2026. Amazon eliminated 16,000 corporate roles in January, the second mass layoff the company conducted in a 3-month span, following 14,000 cuts in October 2025. Block, the financial technology company that owns Cash App and Square, reduced its workforce from approximately 10,000 to fewer than 6,000 in early March 2026. Company leadership attributed the reduction explicitly to the growing capability of AI tools to perform work previously done by employees. United Parcel Service announced plans to eliminate 30,000 operational positions over the course of 2026, alongside the closure of more than 24 facilities in the first half of the year. The pace of these cuts is accelerating. U.S. technology companies announced more than 33,000 job cuts in January and February 2026 alone, a 51% increase compared to the same 2-month period in 2025. According to a 2026 survey by Resume.org of 1,000 U.S. hiring managers, 55% said they expected layoffs at their organizations that year, and 44% identified AI as the top anticipated driver of those reductions. The roles most exposed in Oracle's cuts: software developers, database administrators, cloud infrastructure professionals, ERP implementation specialists, data analysts, operations staff, and project managers, share a common characteristic. They involve structured, repeatable processes that AI tools are specifically designed to perform. The roles showing lower exposure are those requiring human judgment applied on top of AI output, interpreting results, managing client relationships, integrating systems, and making decisions that go beyond pattern recognition. For employees in established mid-career positions across technology and adjacent industries, the relevant question is no longer solely about performance. It is about whether the tasks they perform can be executed at lower costs through AI systems. Those are distinct considerations, and the distinction matters for how workers plan their professional development, their financial reserves, and their assessment of job stability. The household level consequences of disruptions on this scale are real and specific. Workers who lost positions on March 31st, 2026, lost not only income, but unvested equity, employer sponsored health coverage, and access to employer matched retirement contributions. They entered a compressed job market alongside tens of thousands of other displaced workers with comparable credentials. Unlike a plant closure in a single city, these layoffs are geographically distributed, reducing the visibility of the aggregate impact and limiting concentrated responses from local institutions or policymakers. On the day the layoffs were confirmed, Oracle stock rose approximately 5 to 6%. The market's positive response to the elimination of tens of thousands of jobs reflects how cost reduction is currently valued relative to workforce stability and corporate financial performance. That market signal is relevant context for anyone assessing the durability of employment in large organizations over the near term. As of early April 2026, Oracle has not issued a public statement confirming the total number of affected employees. The company made no comment on the layoffs during its March 10th, 2026 earnings call. Its next scheduled earnings release is June 16th, 2026. WARN Act filings indicate separations will continue through June 1st, 2026, meaning the full scope of the reductions is not yet finalized. TD Cowen analysts have projected that Oracle may need to reduce its workforce by up to 25% in total, which would imply an additional 10,000 to 15,000 positions beyond what was already executed, based on the gap between the company's remaining restructuring budget and costs already recorded. That projection has not been confirmed by Oracle. What is confirmed is this: a company generating $17.2 billion in quarterly revenue with $553 billion in contracted future obligations eliminated the jobs of an estimated 20,000 to 30,000 employees over the course of a single morning, not because it was failing, but because it needed the capital their salaries represented to fund an infrastructure commitment that its balance sheet could not otherwise support. The employees who received that 6 a.m. email were not casualties of poor performance or business decline. They were part of a financial calculation. That calculation is being repeated at varying scales across the American economy. The workers affected at Oracle are among the first to experience it at this magnitude. They are unlikely to be the last.